I'm really not the type of guy to watch sport films, but I have to say Challengers undeniably is a very engaging experience. Hi, my name's Trent. Welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. Now, like I just said in the introduction, I don't really watch sport films. You know, I'm not a guy for the Mighty Ducks or some of the big American football films that you have, the Titans, or whatever you have with Denzel Washington. I haven't seen any of those. Mighty Ducks maybe as a kid, but that's just it. So I'm not really big on sort of sporting films. It's funny because I'm in martial arts with a lot of sporting aspects in it, and I absolutely understand how thrilling it can be to, you know, perform at an athletic level and get there and work towards that goal, etc., and how it elevates you. At the same time, I just don't find it entertaining and engaging to watch it on the big screen. And also here, I'll have to say, Challengers is about tennis, and I don't watch tennis at all. I still don't quite understand all the rules because I've never sat down to actually read them. So it really doesn't do much for me on paper. However, during the time, the run up to the Oscars, etc., you did hear Challengers being mentioned here and there. I thought, okay, well, why not? You know, it was on a streaming service. I was like, okay, let's give it a try, let's watch it. And I must say, I was very pleasantly surprised. But before we get into it largely, let's talk about the plot first. Challengers is about young people involved in tennis. We're focused on three mainly. You've got Zendaya, who plays this young woman who is really starting to come up in her career in, well, the tennis world. Don't know any details, so don't ask me about, you know, is she going for a Grand Slam? Don't know what a Grand Slam is. Anyway, never mind. Then you've got these other two guys. They're played by Mike Feist and Josh O'Connor, and they are a young duo team. They compete as a duo and are successful at tennis championships, and they get to know her, they know of her because she's a rising star. And what we basically see over the years is, because the film itself spans a period of like 13 years or so, we see how this sort of becomes a love triangle, to really give it the shortest description that I can. It's basically a love triangle, and there's a back and forth between all three of them and what their goals are in the tennis world and whether they're going to, you know, achieve them or work towards them, etc., That's basically all I need to tell you about the plot. Now, it might sound very bland, but it is done in a really interesting way. We have got a lot of time shifts, so we'll be more towards the start of this whole thing. Then you'll see quite often we'll return to present day because there's a big thing that happens, you know, that is actually setting off the whole story, where we crawl back and discover what happened, etc. But while this may sound confusing, it's not at all. First of all, they always make sure to tell you, right, this was 3 years ago or whatever. But at the same time, it all flows very naturally. So it's the story is written in a very interesting way. The editing is good as well. You know, I didn't feel lost at any point. It's always quite obvious where we are and how this is important for the current situation that we're facing in the story. Really like that. And again, I'm not really interested in tennis, but this film, you know, made it interesting to watch. I was like, oh yeah, okay, because there's a lot of interesting camera work that's done when we're on the tennis court. You've even got one sequence where the ball is flying back and forward with the camera being behind it all the time, and it really makes you sit there and go, I wonder how they technically filmed this sequence, because it was really interesting. But generally speaking, you know, anything that happens on the court, it's all high pumped up action, even though it's just a ball being hit back and forth. This is very much supported by the music. I immediately took notice of the music, because the music always kicks in at certain points and it really tries to get you hyped up, etc. And I really felt myself, you know, being engaged by the music, which doesn't happen a lot in films. So it's like, this is really interesting. Credits roll, it's like Trent, Reznor and Atticus Ross. I'm like, okay, I'm a Nine Inch Nails fan, so that's like, yes, of course, I should not be surprised that these two make a music soundtrack that engages with me. I mean, they've done all sorts of things, but this is definitely something that you can see Trent Reznor's you know, fingerprints all over it, and it is a really engaging soundtrack. So it gets you hyped up, and that's what it wants. It's really sort of this challengers aspect. You know, it's really like you're in a competition with these guys. You know, because I don't know, it's a really amazing tie-in of music into film, which is not easy to pull off. So because I often watch films where if you asked me afterwards, you know, did you even take notice of the soundtrack, I'd be like, nah, you know, it didn't really do anything for me. Here, absolutely, really does. Don't ask me to describe the music because I couldn't. It's just very upbeat because it just really fits to the theme of the film so well. Yeah, I won't tell you how it goes out. Of course, actually, the ending itself is something that is debated online, I saw, because it is left up to your own interpretation. I've got my specific version of it as well. I mean, what I think happened. I just thought it was really interesting, but mostly, it's actually not fair to say mostly, because there are a lot of very interesting aspects here. So you've got the music, you've got the interesting camera work, but I really do need to mention the three main players, the actors themselves, because it wouldn't be possible without them, because they really tell this story so well, because depending on where we are in the timeline, you can really, they portray their characters in a really interesting way, where you can immediately tell what their angle is, what their motivation is, and how, you know, what their current opinion of the other two is, and all these kind of things. Really interesting work. So this film absolutely surprised me. I was like, oh God, you know, this. When I first just saw snippets of it, there's one scene you see where the three of them are on a bed, you know, making out, etc. I was like, and I'll admit, my first thought was, oh God, you know, is that the big highlight of the film? Is that why everyone's up in arms, because there's a threesome or something like that? Not at all. So I don't know if that was just me being silly, you know, and just really badly interpreting what I was seeing on screen, or whether that was a kind of bait and switch or so. I don't know. But I do need to say, all three of them, the performance is really interesting, really enjoyed them very much. The film wouldn't work without the three of them. Josh O'Connor, I would have to maybe say, is kind of my favourite. He's always got this smile, this sly smile. You're like, he's up to something. And out of all of them, although all three did a really good job, he sold it the most to me, because he made it really interesting. Because you're never quite sure, what is his angle? You know, because anyway. Real interesting film. If you're not into sports films like I'm not really into, still give it a try. If you're a fan of Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, that might be all you need to hear about this film, because again, the soundtrack I felt was very interesting and absolutely fit the film so well, and even elevated it. So yeah, challengers, if you grab it somewhere on streaming especially, just go ahead and watch it. I don't feel that it'll waste your time in any way. That'll be all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below about anything you want to say about challengers, you know, any aspect of it. Sport films, are there any others you can recommend where you're like, you know, I get that you're not a sporty guy, but you know, you have to see this. This will change your life. I'm open to it. So if you have suggestions, put them down in the comments below. I'll thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one on Flying Wiener. Take care.